Welcome to the Intrazone, a roadmap pit stop June 2024 edition. This is a bonus monthly show that answers that burning question in your mind. What's rolling out now for SharePoint and related technology in Microsoft 365? I'm Mark Cashman, Senior Product Manager at Microsoft, here to help set the ongoing record straight. This month we hear from Dave Cohen, Principal Group Product Manager on the SharePoint team, who focuses on the intranet of tomorrow and today, and always with he and his team and all of the designers behind it, intending and succeeding in making your intranet beautiful, flexible, and these days AI ready. And within today's episode, we share a few minutes of Dave describing how intranet trends and expectations have risen and what Microsoft is doing to give you the tools to be the best communicator you can be. Beyond the breadth of intranet beauty and flexibility, we'll focus on everything that landed this month, a few related items, and the always fun teasers looking into next month. First, a couple of housekeeping items. Number one housekeeping item is I want to share, if you haven't come across it yet, the Community News Desk. The team has been publishing new content and insight each week, and there's a small FYI, we recently moved some related content into the Community News Desk to consolidate recent similar content for ease of discovery and to solidify the type of content you can expect from this feed of unique content that's designed for you and delivered to and for the Microsoft community. You can expect to find our Mondays at Microsoft show content, event guides and event recaps, product insights from the community, voices from the community, and of course some of the Intrazone content will appear there as well. And the all-encompassing more. You will find more. We are intending to grow the intent and catalog of the Community News Desk. So head on over there to the Community News Desk. You just go to aka.ms/communitynewsdesk/blog. Then you'll stay informed and join the community so you don't miss out on any future posts. Housekeeping item number 2 is the continuation of the in-depth product learning video series that you can get to easily. This is a playlist on YouTube. Just go to aka.ms/m365con sessions. This playlist now has 41 recent sessions, all on demand, all free for you to consume in their entirety. And to give you a sense, the last 5 sessions that have been published to this playlist, the first one is Create an AI-Ready Organization, Best Practices for Copilot for Microsoft 365. Next, Mastering the Art and Science of Prompting in the World of AI, one that's pretty close to the Intrazone hearts beating out there. OneDrive collaboration across Microsoft 365. Next session, driving rollout and adoption of Copilot and Microsoft Viva. And the most recent session, full on-demand, 60 minutes worth of content, using Purview information protection to secure sensitive business data in the era of AI. This playlist is growing week after week, and we put in a bonus. If you haven't yet watched Jeff Teeper's full opening keynote, our team cut down an 8-minute highlights reel of all the key keynote moments and demos. Both the cut down and full versions are now in the same Microsoft 365 product learning playlist on the Microsoft Community Learning channel on YouTube. But to get there without saying all those words, just type in aka.ms/m365con sessions. Start learning, get in depth with the products that you love or products that you want to learn more about at your own pace. There's a ton there already and a lot more to come, like I said, week after week. Okay, housekeeping kept, and now on to the show. Here is your 30-minute pit stop to stay ahead of the ever-curving Microsoft 365 roadmap. It is time to kick back and get informed about all the tech that rolled out in June 2024. We'll start with employee engagement, like we always do on the roadmap pit stop. Getting into those features where you, the communicator, have something to share with a lot of people to get your message out there to make sure that people come across your message. First up is a great communicators tool with an update that helps you target things. Microsoft Viva Amplify now supports SharePoint audience targeting. So when you're publishing to one or more SharePoint sites from within or from Viva Amplify, you can now promote the news post to specific audiences by indicating security groups, Microsoft 365 groups, or Entra ID, previously Azure Active Directory, dynamic groups. One of the most powerful targeting tools out there when you think of managing it through auth and access. This new default feature will allow more targeted communications as desired by authors and publishers, possibly you, great communicator out there, which equals more engagement with your Viva Amplify publications. When creating your Amplify campaigns, you're able to use audience targeting in the publishing pane within Amplify. Scope your reach for the greatest impact. There's a great article about publishing all up when you're using Viva Amplify, and this is now included in that documentation. Next up is a great, very crowd-pleasing type demo that I've seen many times and have now actually started to use just a little bit in our own environment. This is the SharePoint Premium new Autofill columns. Autofill columns allows an AI prompt to be set on a document library column that processes the file's contents and saves the response to the associated column. The prompt can be configured to extract information from the file or to generate a response based on the analysis of its contents. That's both existing specific metadata or generated metadata based on your specific criteria, which in the end all make content mean more and your content becomes more discoverable, becomes easier to enhance your business processes, and takes the manual processing out of it and automates it. This is one of those things when you see it in action, your first reaction might be to drop your jaw. Then you move into the wondering how it all works. And then fairly quickly you move into simple gratitude statements like, thank you, AI, and get on to other higher priority tasks. So get into this new autofill columns feature of SharePoint Premium if you want metadata to almost fill out itself or actually fill out itself. You'll love this new feature. Next for SharePoint is the ability to apply shapes to your images. Our eyes and brains love variance, especially when we can enhance the story of a communication visually. It just makes things a little bit more interesting. To help bring more interest to your page, you can now apply a shape over an image web part or an inline image in a text web part. These shapes include square, circle, triangle, hexagon, pebble, and teardrop. And as you'll hear Dave explain in more elegant detail, it also keeps us from posting the same old. So last for employee engagement. Last for when you're communicating broadly or after you've communicated broadly. This is one for IT pros when it comes to our new service offering. That is the Microsoft 365 Archive offering. This is all about the CLI tool, aka Command Line Interface tool for Microsoft 365 version 7.10. 7.10 brings new management capabilities, of which I'll highlight specific newness for SharePoint in Microsoft 365 on the Intrazone, and of course, encourage you to read more about how it supports other apps and services across Microsoft 365. Here, we'll focus on the SharePoint IT updates. First, a primer on Microsoft 365 Archive to set the context. This is a new cost-effective storage for inactive SharePoint sites. Many organizations want to retain inactive data, but may also wrestle with rising storage costs. Ta-da! Microsoft 365 Archive allows you to retain this inactive data by moving it into cold storage within SharePoint. So, with the feature on hand, leveraging now that reference of what is Microsoft 365 Archive, this new updated CLI for Microsoft 365 has new commands so that you can archive and unarchive sites. It's just that simple. To archive a SharePoint site, run the Microsoft 365 SharePoint tenant site archive, and then the URL, reference it, and archive it goes away. To unarchive a SharePoint site, run M365 SPO tenant site unarchive, reference the URL of the site, and it's that easy. Also in this release, we're adding the ability to list site administrators. To list all admins of a SharePoint site, you just run M365 SPO site admin list, plug in the URL, and it'll pop out who the admins are. You can read the full version 7.10 article on the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community blog, of which, of course, I will have the link in the blog. Before we move into talking about teamwork, let's pause for a little bit and hear from Dave Cohen, Principal Group Product Manager on the SharePoint team, on the intranet of tomorrow. Beautiful, flexible, and AI ready, and how intranet trends and expectations have risen. This is taken from a recent conference where Dave led off the session to set context on what he and team are delivering alongside our SharePoint user interface design team. Here's Dave on the intranet from the Microsoft SharePoint point of view.
So starting off with trends and insights, your AI-ready intranet is the digital representation of an organization. Just like you have physical buildings, campus, signage, etc. Your intranet is the digital representation of your organization to your employees. It needs to connect them to your identity, your mission, and give them key information that they need to do their best work. And it needs to look really, really great. Design standards on the intranet have really risen in the last decade or so. If you look across the web, back when we modernized SharePoint in 2017, we were inspired by how easy it was on the internet at large for someone with no technical expertise, like a baker or someone, to go and create a beautiful looking website, right? That's not their job. It's not their business to create websites, but they could easily do it with the tools available to them. And it quickly set the expectation that that was available to information workers. People in small, medium, large businesses would have the same internal tools to create really compelling content. And over time, over the last 5-7 years, the bar for design on the internet at large has really gone up. You've seen an increased use in engaging typography, use of really flexible page layout technology. Motion is being brought into pages as a way of engaging audiences. And the type of content shown on the web is changing as well. Video is a much more prominent role. TikTok, for example, didn't exist 10 years ago. Or maybe it did and I just wasn't aware. But video tools, creation, editing, hosting, like all of that is getting easier to do. And so video itself is becoming a much more prominent content type. Your web content is more than just the content on the page. It's also about the Chrome around the page and how that represents a coherent story about the content, who the content is from, who's authored it, what organization is it a part of. And so the expectations that content is represented not just on the web, but on any endpoint coherently is really, really important. Simple authoring, creation tools today are democratized. I really love to use Canva, for example, as an example. Canva turns anyone into a designer in minutes. I give the best digital holiday gifts. I just go on Canva and print out like great looking gift cards. And I look like a professional doing it because that's a tool that makes it easy for me. Anyone can be a creator these days. And that was just one example. And the intranet is no exception to that. Anyone creating content on the intranet is a creator and they need really simple tools to use. They need to be approachable and intuitive. They can't require extensive training to get the most out of. They also need to be flexible and powerful. If you have a vision in your mind about what you want to create, you need to be able to execute on that vision. And finally, it needs to be fun, because if it's not fun, you're going to find a different tool that is fun. So it's really important that the tool itself is a pleasure to use.
It's great to hear how the SharePoint intranet design team is democratizing the ability to easily create beautiful sites, pages, and news for your intranet. These updates have been landing recently beyond the conference demos and into your production tenants, some of which you've heard earlier in the ability to add shapes to your images, and much of what will come for pages, web parts, and sites all up. There is no better time to create a SharePoint page than right now. I don't even mind if you pause the episode to go make a SharePoint page and then let me know all about it, what you liked, what you discovered, and of course, always we're open to hearing that feedback of what you want us to do next, and I'll make sure to pass it on to Dave and team. And if you haven't recently, you'll like all the options and choices to make your pages represent your best internal communication possible. All right, this brings us to teamwork. Let's talk about when you're working one-on-one or one-to-few. First off, Microsoft Teams is getting a new file image preview in Messages. That is right. The Teams team is working on a series of features to help you identify, consume, and act on content such as files, lists, and SharePoint pages. In this first release, they bring file image previews to chats and channels to help us better identify a file in the conversation stream. So when a file such as a JPEG or PNG image file or a PowerPoint file or a PDF is attached to a message in a chat or a channel, you'll see a small image of the file without opening the file. And it may go without saying, but the benefits are great, giving you the ability to quickly scan for or find that file you're looking for visually, to preview part of the file content before opening it, and to save time and bandwidth by avoiding unnecessary file downloads and file opens. This builds off the years of work to generate and provide file previews in OneDrive and SharePoint, and now, like much innovation, brings it directly into where you're working with others for your collective good. Ah, yes, that is the file I was looking for. Thank you, File Previews. You made it easy for me and my chitty Teams chat companions to know exactly the file that we were looking at or looking for. Next up, SharePoint brings enhancements to the text web part, one of the most critical web parts in all of the SharePoint page toolkit. And this is part one, meaning in the future we've got other plans for the text web parts that's listed as part two. One of my most favorite page templates is the blank template. Start how you want, keep it simple, get it done. And one of the most common web parts added to the blank template and any page template is the text web part. Well, it's time to introduce a new set of improvements to the text web part. In this update, you'll find expanded support for font sizes 8 to 250 with the capability to manually enter in custom values. You'll find more bulleted list styles like disk, circle, and square, more numbered list styles using numbers, the alphabet, and Roman numerals, and the ability to start new lists and set custom numbered lists. These small improvements bring a lot of choice to your next text block, and of course you can update in existing text blocks. Alongside this and improved image support, you're going to have great control to type out what you want and visualize better for your viewer's reception exactly the message that you wanted to convey with clarity. Next, OneDrive is bringing shortened URLs in OneDrive Web. Now, this is about how you navigate OneDrive and the URLs that then appear or are part of it if you're using the URLs. When you visit OneDrive on the web, you will see that the previous URL had the format, and I'm going to take a big deep breath just to get this nice big long old URL out. tenant-my.sharepoint.com/personal/alias/_layout/15/OneDrive.aspx?view=1. Whew, hold on. Let me catch my breath after the breadth and length of that URL. Now, the new URL will have the format tenant-my.sharepoint.com. No deep breath required. We will also replace the name of the pivot in the URL when the user, you, browses to a different part of OneDrive, like tenant-my.sharepoint.com/my for your files, what we call my files, or tenant-my.sharepoint.com/favorites to go to your favorites view. And you'll see this consistently as you navigate OneDrive. Note, if you bookmarked or linked to the previous URL, the service will be redirected to the new URL. All sharing links, bookmarks, and custom redirectors like typing tenant.onedrive.com, the shortest of all OneDrive URLs, still takes you to OneDrive for the web. Browsing content within another user's OneDrive will also continue to work and will display the old URL format. There will be no changes to SharePoint web URLs. There's a lot to discover as you start to engage the next time with OneDrive. Take a look up in your browser address bar and see what that OneDrive URL is. All right, let's take the value of shorter uniform resource locators, those URLs, and move our discussion to related technology. In our related technology section is Microsoft Designer on the consumer side of things. Just got a refresh and a new icon. Gone is the brush stroking paintbrush, and in comes the butterfly flapping multicolored lettered D for designer. You have to see it. I'm not the best design-oriented logo describer, but I tell you, it's a little bit cleaner and it's pretty nice. You'll see this if you go to Microsoft 365 on the consumer side in the app launcher. When you're signed in, you will see with your Microsoft account ID the new designer logo. Now, when you click the new designer logo and actually go into the designer app, you're going to see some fun new features. Let's start with aspect ratios. Designer now supports landscape and portrait images along with square images. The app also brings greeting cards, a new tool in Designer that helps you create highly personalized greeting cards for any occasion. You can also transform your photos effortlessly with the new Restyle Image feature. This allows you to turn your photos into stunning, stylized images with just a few clicks. I do encourage you to check this out, of which I also checked it out. I gave it a whirl with my standard work profile pic. I uploaded my photo, trying it a few times, choosing the styles pop art, doodle art, and cubism, and asked for it to add a wide open landscape with mountains, trees, and birds in the sky to generate a little bit more in the ambience in the less interesting blurred office space background from the original photo. Now, it does a nice job with the style you choose. It does reference your image, and of course, you can further tweak to get closer to what you want. One observation on my small test: Copilot really wants me to have a more flowing head of hair, so maybe it doesn't look quite like me within a few snazzy styles, and I'm okay with my not so snazzy style in the real world. In the blog post, I'll share the original pic alongside the 3 style examples, and you be the judge of how Copilot restyles images with just a few clicks of a mouse and some volumizing mousse in some cases for that long-lasting hold and extra hair-enhancing AI ingredients. We are early days in areas for the era of AI, even if my real hair is in its non-AI twilight era. There's a lot to learn about this feature set and more. You can go to Microsoft Designer, just type in designer.microsoft.com, sign in with your Microsoft account, and you're off and running trying things. I'm also going to put a link to a nice video using Microsoft Designer. The new Restyle Image tool is nicely demoed by Rob Quickenden. And if you're on Twitter and you want to see what the Microsoft Designer team is up to, they're pretty active. You can follow them at MSFT365Designer. They are a busy team showcasing some of the easiest to access generative AI tools for everyone. All right, moving on. You've heard me talk about this next related feature in previous pit stops in reference to other products. And it's another reference to short URLs, especially trusted short URLs. Now, the new planner transitions to the cloud.microsoft domain. Initially, the cloud.microsoft domain, provisioned in early 2023, provides a unified, trusted, and dedicated DNS domain space to host Microsoft's first-party authenticated SaaS products and experiences. With that primer of why, we welcome Microsoft Planner to the cloud.microsoft domain, which means you can go to planner.cloud.microsoft. Type it into a browser and you're taken straight to the new planner with trust and dedication. We know this quells IT pro headache and heartache, and we appreciate the feedback about how we can make rolling out and adopting tech and tech services more known and more trusted. Next, I'd like to highlight an upcoming Microsoft 365 Champions call, which is led by my teammate Tiffany Lee. These calls are a great way to hear about Microsoft 365 products and services from those that design and build it. The upcoming July 2024 call has as its primary topic the SharePoint Web UI Kit, which is a kit that helps you design engaging sites and pages in Figma. The call is on July 24th, 2024, and I'll have a link in the show notes and in the blog so you can learn more about the whole program, Microsoft 365 Champions. But for this upcoming call, the guest speakers are Nicole Woon, who's been on the pod before, and her colleague Farhan Mian, also known as the exact right people to explain what the Web UI Kit is and how to use it. While building a page in SharePoint is easy and getting easier, the team wants to provide the ability to explore different design options for your site without the limitation of admin privileges and tenant restrictions, and without exposing organization data, meaning you're just designing within Figma and then you translate that and put it into SharePoint when you're ready. The webinar always is presented twice on the same day, so you can jump in at 9 a.m. and or 6 p.m. for coverage across time zones. I'll put a link in the blog so you can pre-read more about the SharePoint Web UI Toolkit. This is by our peer Jason Blackheart. And you can find our toolkit within the Figma community at aka.ms/spwebuikit. To join the call, head over to aka.ms/m365champions and register to join for free. Okay, I'd like to move to a technology heads up. We will be retiring the SharePoint News Connector from Microsoft Teams starting July 22nd, 2024 and ending August 31st, 2024. To continue receiving SharePoint team site news notifications in Teams, we recommend using these alternatives where development investments do continue. That is Viva Connections news notifications, Viva Amplify, or workflow in Teams. After the connectors are retired, users will not receive new post notifications. While no admin action is required to implement the retirement, we recommend that you guide people through the process of determining if they have configured this SharePoint News Connector using this detailed step-by-step guide that I'll link to in the blog. You can learn more about this, the SharePoint News Connector retirement, and the plan behind it, in addition, in a new blog of its own. I'll have all that linked, so if this is of any concern or something that you'd like to review or share with others, there's certainly no shortage of how to do that. And last, let us end on a high note. And this is a high note that started as a low note. Microsoft Stream now consumes less storage for stream videos in the Microsoft 365 suite. We know that video files tend to be large and they consume lots of space against your OneDrive and SharePoint storage quotas. And currently and previously, when you make or made metadata changes such as title, description, transcripts, chapters, interactivity, thumbnails, media settings, a lot of things to the files in Microsoft Stream, each of those changes caused new versions to be created, which is not great. Each of these versions count the full size towards consumed storage quota. Thus, for large video files and audio files, these versions cause your storage consumption to quickly increase. Again, not great. So, to evolve the service, we are changing how Stream handles versioning. Any changes made to metadata files from Stream will stop making versions, thus preventing storage from increasing as rapidly as it has in the past. The following actions will no longer create a version in the file's version history. Editing title or description from within Stream, no version created. Adding or editing chapters, transcripts, captions, or interactivity like a survey, no version created. Adding audio tracks, no version created. So that's all good news. There's a lot more information. There's a full dedicated article in the Microsoft support area called Versioning in Stream so that you can learn more. And certainly you will see this as it brings back better storage management and consumption within your tenant. That brings us to the July 2024 teasers. Here are 2 teasers for what's coming in July 2024. Teaser number 1. Rewrite SharePoint pages with Copilot in SharePoint Text Web Part version 1. Yes, that is a long feature title that means you will be able to use Copilot to quickly rewrite existing text on SharePoint pages or news posts. Within seconds, change the tone, make the text concise or longer, and even rewrite the text. These are exciting times as Copilot starts to appear in SharePoint soon. Teaser number 2. Collaborate on SharePoint pages and news with co-authoring, aka multiple authors can edit the same page at the same time without having to take turns. You can see real-time changes made by others as they happen in pages, sections, and web parts. Pause. More next month. Those are the 2 teasers that tease the value of working with others and AI assistants. What could be more exciting? And that's it with this month's excitement peek ahead. We'll share more details and other updates within the SharePoint Roadmap Pit Stop July 2024 edition next month. We've added a lot more Learn links and screenshots and a whole bunch of goodness per feature, plus a list of important resources in the show notes and in the corresponding blog post on the Microsoft Tech community published to the SharePoint community blog. I hope you've enjoyed this roadmap pit stop. It is time to pump the brakes. It is time to relax knowing that you are all caught up. If anything still leaves you scratching your head with open questions or concerns, please send us your thoughts and comments to theintrozone@microsoft.com. We're here to put our and your best change management foot forward, and we thank you for taking that step with us into the cloud month after month. This is Mark Cashman saying enjoy the intranet shape-shifting and beautification on the roadmap ahead.